This is my shop, Gangsters Italian Sandwiches. It's not a huge place, but it's home. It does the job.
Best sandwich in the city, hands down.
I'm a person that loves food, who loves life, who loves family, and good times.
That's pretty good.
My family was originally from the area of Chioggia in Italy, which is kind of around the area of Naples. Some of our family, I think, immigrated back in the early 20s, and some came in the late 40s. The area where my family comes from is known for wheat, it's known for cattle, there's some wine in the area as well, but it's very close to the ocean, so grapes do quite well around there. The first place I ever worked was the Harper Castle Hotel in Toronto. I studied cooking at the George Brown College, and so right out of college I went to the Harper Castle Hotel, and then I spent 14 years in Vancouver, and I had a restaurant in Vancouver on Robson Street called La Bogata, and I moved to Saskatoon in '98. The first place I had when I moved to Saskatoon was a little soup and sandwich place up on 45th Street. It was called Beelzebub and Soup and Sandwich. Then from there, I also joined the farmers market in 2000 and was selling food there. And then the farmers market moved into their location on 19th Street, and I had a booth in there where I sold soup and sandwiches and quiche. And then after I left the market, I had Two Gun Quiche House on 20th Street. And it was called Two Gun after Morris Two Gun Cohen, who was a famous Riversdale gangster. And I went with Two Gun Cohen because it's part of the local history. And if I can go with local history, I thought that would be a good theme for the restaurant. After that, I bought a food truck. And I had the food truck for 4 years, and then I tried the retirement, and I'm not going to try that again. Retirement sucked. Here I am. I'm back at Gangsters Italian Sandwiches, which was the name of the food truck. It's a very scaled down version of a restaurant. I don't want seating. I don't want to work that hard anymore, so to be retired is perfect for me. It's been very successful. People in the neighborhood would be walking by the door, just sticking their head in and saying, welcome to the community. And I've always liked Broadway because Broadway's an area where, except for 1 or 2 stores, everything's independently owned. They're all local businesses. And it's just a vibrant, great community. Funny, my dad was a plumber in Toronto, and I started off as a plumber. And I hurt my back, I fell down, I injured my back, and that kind of ended my plumbing career. Now, my second love is cooking. And in our family, we had our Sunday dinners every Sunday. Food was so important to us. And I was always in the kitchen, behind my mother, watching what she's doing. I cooked my first full course meal, turkey dinner, when I was 12 years old, first time. And I've always been in the kitchen, so that was just a natural step for me, going from plumbing into cooking. Spending a lot of time in the kitchen with my mother, I just learned a lot of the basics of cooking, and she was always doing something new, so I always had an interest. I have 3 older sisters, so when she was making cake, she had to dirty enough spoons so we could all get a spoon to lick, because you only had 1 spoon, you were mixing the batter. So she had to keep everybody happy. I have relatives that own restaurants. I was always interested in what they were doing, and it's just a passion for me. So it came naturally to become a restaurateur. Well, at Gangsters, meatball. Any Italian sandwich worth their salt will have a meatball sandwich. If they don't serve a meatball sandwich, don't go there. But I have 3 types of meatballs. I have the classic meatball, which is the meatballs, marinara sauce, roasted sweet bell peppers, and Asiago cheese. The basil balls, where you put on some nice basil mayo on top of it, as well as the sauce and cheese. And then the balls of fire, which is your classic meatballs with hot pickled peppers. My meatball recipe was my great-grandmother's, and everybody loved her meatballs, and it's always been our family recipe, so that's the one that I go with here. And they're phenomenal. They're so tasty. That's gonna be one spicy meatball. Then we have a selection of cold sandwiches, the Italian deli that has a selection of deli meat. The basil mayo that has to go on all the sandwiches, that's the boss sauce. All my customers love the basil mayo. So that goes on the Italian deli. There's also a hot Genoa salami, a mild Genoa salami, a double smoked ham, which is a real ham. It's not loaf, and same thing with the turkey pesto, which is very popular. It's a homemade pesto sauce and real turkey, not loaf. And then there's the muffaletta, which is a selection of deli meats, and it has an olive salad on the bottom. That's one of the most popular sandwiches in New Orleans. And if you ever go there, you'll see that in every restaurant. And every once in a while, I'll do something on special. Smoked chicken salad, that's really popular. I cook the chicken breast in the smoker and then make chicken salad sandwich out of it. Oh, okay, what I'm gonna start off with is the most popular sandwich, which is the Italian deli. Now what we do is take a nice fresh ciabatta, and I look at meat as like spices, okay? The Italian deli, there's prosciutto cotto, which has a nice robust pork flavor. There's capicola, which is, it's kind of sweet. And then you have mortadella, which has a nice creamy texture to it. So those flavors go together very, very well. So that's why I like to look at meats as spices, the same way you blend spices for cooking anything else. And one thing about making a good sandwich, you ever take a bite of a sandwich and you get a mouthful of bread, and then you take another bite, and then you get a taste of something else? I like to make sure the meat goes to the very edge of the sandwiches, and the cheese and the lettuce. So that way, when you take a bite, you get a little bit of everything right off the bat. You don't have to wait for the experience. So now we got the prosciutto cotto, the capicola, the mortadella. Then we're going to put on some provolone cheese. And then we have some nice crisp romaine lettuce. This is one thing people like, is I soak my lettuce in water for about 3 hours before I use it, so it crisps up really nice, and you get that nice crunch when you bite into the sandwich. Now, this is the boss sauce. This is what everybody likes. It's the basil mayo with the basil from Floating Gardens. If I ever run out of this, my customers will string me up. So now we just set that on top of there, and there's the Italian deli sandwich. Okay, the next sandwich I'm going to do, which is also quite popular, is the turkey pesto. Now, this is made with a homemade pesto sauce that I make myself. And because of allergies, I make this nut-free. So you tell your customers, they don't tend not to come back. So I got to be careful of allergies. Anyways, I use real turkey. I don't use loaf. I have an aversion to loaf. Meat loaf's okay, lemon loaf is okay, but turkey loaf, nah, not in my shop. So we put a nice layer of the turkey on there, and some nice fresh tomatoes that starting soon will be from Floating Gardens. Okay. And now the provolone cheese. Some more lettuce. And then we finish the top slice off with a little bit of the boss sauce. Goes on there like that. And that is the turkey pesto sandwich. Okay, the next sandwich I'm going to make is the smoked chicken salad. Now this is probably one of my most requested sandwiches. I do this on a special basis only, but I try to do it at least once every 2 weeks. So we're going to take a nice fresh ciabatta and put some lettuce in the bottom like that. Now this chicken, I cook it in the smoker, and then dice it up, add some mayonnaise, some diced up green onions, and you just have an amazing sandwich. A smoked flavor carries through the mayonnaise like you wouldn't believe. And I never serve this to anybody I don't like, because if I do, they're gonna wanna come back. And there we go. And that's the smoked chicken salad sandwich. Okay, now this is my favorite sandwich in the whole world. Look at that pastrami. That's, when it bends like that, you know it's perfectly cooked and it doesn't break. I'm gonna have to make 3 of these. Go. Okay, now get some mustard on the bottom buns, top buns. Then we need about a good ½ pound on each sandwich. Well, normally on a pastrami sandwich, people use rye bread. Now, I like rye bread, but I can't seem to find one that's soft enough. They're hard and they tend to break. So what I'm using is a brioche bun, and they work really, really well for pastrami sandwiches. And there is one of the best sandwiches in the world. Pastrami. The first time I ever had a pastrami sandwich was in Toronto, and it was at Shopowitz, which became Shopsies. And you walk in there and they have these big steamers on the counter. And if you order the pastrami sandwich, they open the steamer and take it out, put it on the meat slicer and slice it, and you get meat that thick on the sandwich. And the first time I ever had it, that was it for me. Pastrami was my main sandwich. Everybody's excited about the pastrami, and they have to get here early because it sells out really quick. And eventually I had to put a restriction on 2 sandwiches per customer so that everybody can have a sandwich. So that's worked out pretty good. But I'll be doing it again come spring.
Yeah, this is our first time down here at Gangster Italian Subs. We just live in the neighborhood and have heard good things, so I'm gonna give it a try and see. This is the meatball sub.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I got a balls of fire here, meatball sub. Best sandwich in the city, hands down.
The friendliness of the owner,
Yeah.
it just seemed like family. It was
Yeah, he always makes
Good-
you
good
feel
food.
really welcome when you come in.
Oh, I love coming in. He's a friendly guy, friendly face. Always up for some conversation. The food is insane, so that's number one, but just love supporting them, supporting local.
Well, you know, the people that have been coming in here, I've known ever since I had my first place in Saskatoon. And they've followed me around, they like my food. And coming into this place here, I'm seeing all the same customers that I've seen for 20 years, over 20 years. So they're more than just customers, they're kind of like family, they're like friends.
You know that his quality is going to be up there because he's brought the Italian, his Italian heritage to his restaurant, and he does most things right from scratch. I think everything from scratch, actually.
As far as my basil is concerned, I like to get everything I can locally, or as much as I can locally. And my basil I get from Floating Gardens. They literally pick it the day before I get it. And it's super fresh and super fragrant. And it just makes such a fragrant mayonnaise, it's unbelievable. But they're just a great company to deal with. They've been very supportive of me. And yeah, they deliver once a week.
Welcome to Floating Gardens Greenhouse. My brother Chris and I own Floating Gardens, and we're passionate about local food. We're kind of a unique greenhouse in that we grow lots of different things. So we grow everything from edible flowers and herbs like basil, which Bill buys, to fruiting crops like peppers that we're standing beside, and tomatoes and eggplants and cucumbers. And we grow year round. And sometimes we don't have tomatoes year round, but there's always tomatoes in the greenhouse. They might just be establishing because it takes them 3 months to have their first fruit.
We like to think that we grow some of the highest quality produce in Saskatchewan, so we always are looking to find ways to make things a little bit better. So I think where some people might focus on quantity, we try really hard to focus on quality.
So that means our taste is really exceptional. We pick it when it's ripe and fresh. We don't let things ripen in the bin. We let them ripen on the vine, so they're super sweet and tasty. And the thing that I'm most proud of is we have a healthy population of good bugs in the greenhouse, and that means we hardly ever have to spray anything. So we buy beneficial insects to eat bad insects, and it works really well.
Well, in fact, we don't spray any traditional sprays. Anything we do spray is organically certified things. So we're very, even on that, we're very low on how much we do that kind of intervention.
I think we met Bill
Well,
10 years ago at the farmer's market when he would come shopping weekly.
Well, he had a store. He had a restaurant there. He used to have a little stall in the farmers market, and so he would come every week and visit with us at our booth during his downtime, basically.
So he's supported us for a decade,
Yeah.
and we really appreciate him.
And over the years, he's bought different things, but most consistently basil.
With suppliers, it's good if you have a good relationship. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. Sometimes there could be a little bit of an upcoming problem with the basil. They'll let me know. If I have to up the amount of basil I need, there's no problem. They accommodate me. Yeah, it's just a good working relationship. And I've known them, like I say, pretty much ever since I've been at the farmers market. They're just very good business people to work with. Very cheerful. They're always on time. They never miss a delivery.
Yeah, he's been pretty consistently through. I mean, he had some times where he didn't have a restaurant, I think, that was operating, but I think as long as he's had a restaurant operating, he's always bought from us. So he's one of our longest term customers, actually.
You know, I think it's great that restaurants in Saskatoon do support local producers. The money goes back into the community. You know who's growing your food. You talk to the people that are growing it, producing it. If you have any questions, they can tell you right away. A lot of the stuff you get in the store, you don't know who made it, you don't know who grew it, you don't know what's on it. You know where your beef comes from here, you know where your vegetables come from here. And like I say, you get a good relationship with these people, a good working relationship. Everybody's happy, it works out for everybody.
When local restaurants buy local food from people like us, it grows community. It's a place that will come and eat. And the great thing for the restaurant is they're getting food that's sometimes picked that day, and you can't get fresher than that. So it's going to taste better, it's going to look better, and it's building community and making local jobs.
To have good quality food, you have to have good quality ingredients. And I'm stubborn, all my family who have had restaurants, they're stubborn too, and they absolutely refuse to buy instant soup bases, instant this, instant that. You can sell that kind of stuff cheap and it tastes like cheap, but if you use good quality ingredients, good recipes, family recipes, you're gonna have a product that people are gonna like.
Bill, we have the best tasting tomatoes and eggplants. You gotta expand your menu.
I guess I'm gonna have to start doing an eggplant parmesan sandwich. I have no choice. Thanks for stopping in. What I like people to know about me is that I'm old school. I cook for my customers like I cook for family. Customers that come in, I treat them like family. Thank you for stopping in. Take care. And I just love what I do, and I really hope that the customers feel really good about coming here. I just love what I do. I love my customers. I've watched my customers have kids. I've watched their kids grow up and now having kids. It's just one big family. With the Italian culture, food is very, very important because that brings people together, brings family together. And the Italians have a saying, invite two neighbors to dinner whose hate for each other is as great as the food put before them, and you'll see two people leave as friends.
Is there a restaurant or beverage producer you'd like to see featured on maxTV Local? Let us know at SaskTel.com/local.